It was meant to be just another late-night interview. Bright lights, rolling cameras, and scripted laughter. But behind Will Smith's usual grin, something deeper was stirring, a restlessness he couldn't hide anymore. A need to speak plainly. Even if it meant exposing a part of himself he usually kept buried. Keanu Reeves stepped onto the stage with quiet composure. His stillness had more weight than any applause could calm. He didn't come to perform. He came to be no one anticipated. What Will would ask. Even fewer were ready for how Keanu would answer. The studio of Face to Face gleamed with high-end design. Glowing glass panels cast a soft hue of violet and blue, creating a cathedral-like atmosphere. Cream-colored leather chairs sat angled gently toward each other beneath overhead lights that twinkled like stars. Every inch of the set had been carefully arranged for this exact night. This was no ordinary episode. Two legends, one conversation, but behind the lights and planned applause, something else was present, something invisible. Something waiting backstage. Helena Cortez, the show's anchor and one of the country's most respected journalists, adjusted her earpiece. She had spoken with world leaders, artists, and exiles. But tonight she felt a tension even she couldn't define. Will Smith and Keanu Reeves on one stage. Even she didn't know what to expect. She stepped out just as the floor manager gave the signal. 30 seconds, Helena. We're live nationwide. She nodded, straightened her blazer, and walked under the glow of the spotlight as the opening music began to play. The countdown echoed through the studio. 5, 4, 3, 2, Lights up. Audience ready? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Helena greeted, her voice steady but vibrant. Tonight's episode of Face to Face is unlike any other. We're joined by two names who haven't just shaped Hollywood, but impacted entire generations. Not only through their work, but through their actions, their choices, their silence, and their words. The crowd applauded. First, she continued, a man whose name means charisma, strength, and blockbuster success. He's faced fame with courage, humor, and at times controversy. Please welcome Will Smith. Cheers erupted. The iconic beat of Gettin' Jiggy Wit, it boomed through the speakers. Will entered with his usual flair, dancing his way to center stage, high-fiving someone in the front row, then giving Helena a quick, friendly hug before settling into his seat, every bit the star he's always been. Once the applause faded, Helena spoke again, and now, a man who's become a mystery, a movement, and a symbol of quiet defiance. He avoids the spotlight, but it always finds him. A true emblem of discipline and depth. Please welcome Keanu Reeves. The tone of the music shifted, calmer, introspective. Keanu walked in without theatrics, wearing simple black, a t-shirt, a worn jacket, jeans, and a silver crucifix around his neck. He gave Helena a respectful nod and shook Will's hand without a word. Will gave a light pat on Keanu's shoulder, but in his eyes, there was something else. A flicker of challenge. Keanu caught it, but said nothing. Helena gestured to the seats. They both sat across from each other, a small table between them. Will, Keanu, Helena said warmly, tonight, this space is yours. No scripts, no filters. Just a conversation. The world is listening. The lights dimmed slightly. The cameras moved closer. A hush fell over the crowd. Will leaned back, his smile still present. Man, he said to Keanu, I've always wanted to share a stage with you. You've got this whole Hollywood monk with a shotgun vibe. People don't know if you're about to quote Nietzsche or start a slow-motion gunfight. The crowd laughed. Keanu gave a slight smile. We all break something, he replied quietly, even when we're just trying to listen. Will raised an eyebrow. Not a typical late-night one-liner, but he went with it. Can I be real with you? He asked, sitting forward. Keanu nodded once. Will paused. Then said, You ever think your career would have gone way further if you weren't so damn slow? Gasps, silence, even Helena's face reacted. Keanu didn't move. No blink, just tilted his head slightly, as if the question had been waiting. All along, the crowd shifted. A few laughs tried to rise. They didn't last. Keanu took a breath. His voice was calm. Not defensive, not angry. Just steady. What you call slow, he said, I call present. It landed like thunder in a whisper. Will blinked. Present? being here, not chasing the next thing, just alive. The audience murmured. Someone clapped, then stopped midway. Even the cameras seemed to pause. Will crossed one leg. That's deep, man, but Hollywood doesn't pay you to be present. It pays you to perform. I stop moving, I disappear. Keanu nodded. What happens when you disappear from yourself? Will paused, caught mid-thought. Helena glanced at her note cards. This wasn't in the script. Will laughed, but it felt tight. Look, I don't hide. I show up. I face things. I don't sit around with metaphors and long silences. Sometimes, Keanu replied. Silence is the hardest confrontation of all. Will opened his mouth, then closed it. For the first time, his smile faded. No one was laughing anymore. They were listening. Helena leaned in. Keanu, you seem at ease with discomfort? Has it always been like that? No, Keanu said. I had to learn. I lost a lot. My sister, River, time, joy. I disappeared from everything. Before I learned how to stay, Will frowned. You disappeared? Keanu nodded. Not because I couldn't face the world. Because I needed to hear something quieter. The room was still. Keanu leaned forward slightly. His voice stayed calm, but carried weight. There's something I want to ask you. Will's grin slipped just a little. All right, he said. Go ahead. Keanu didn't ask right away. He looked at Will not like an opponent, but like a mirror. The silence stretched. Not awkward, but intentional. Then Keanu said, Why did you really want this interview? Will exhaled sharply. Almost laughed. Come on. It's TV ratings. You and me on a couch? That's gold. Keanu kept looking at him, unshaken, patient. Will glanced toward the audience as if searching for the usual rhythm. But the laughter was gone. The moment had changed. Okay, he said after a beat. Maybe I thought it would be interesting. Two icons, different philosophies. Something to make people think. Keanu tilted his head slightly. Or maybe you needed something. Will froze. His jaw shifted. Helena stayed silent. Her cue cards untouched. This wasn't her show anymore. Will chuckled again, but softer this time. Maybe I did. His smile was there, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. I needed something, Will said. Keanu didn't jump to fill the silence with assumptions. He simply let the question bounce back, soft but steady. That's what I'm curious about. Will, what part of you believed I was the one you needed to face? The audience shifted. Will leaned back, arms crossed, guard up. You've got this image, he said. Untouchable, mysterious, people throw all this holiness on you. And me? I've had my mess broadcast to the world, frame by frame. Keanu nodded slowly. I know. And I'm sorry you had to go through that. Will wasn't ready for empathy. It hit harder than any comeback, but Keanu went on. They don't admire me because I'm silent. They admire me because I stopped. Performing. Will look down. Something passed over his face, faint but real, recognition. You think I'm performing right now? He asked. Keanu didn't say yes. He told a story instead. There was a fan once years back. Caught me outside a bookstore. Looked drained, broken. No camera, no photo. He just said, Your movies helped me survive my brother's death. Then he added, You made me believe I didn't have to end my life. The air in the studio turned dense. I didn't say anything, Keanu said. I just hugged him. We stood there in silence. That 1 minute meant more than 1,000 interviews. Will sat back, eyes somewhere far away. I know that kind of pain, he said softly, but I had to keep going. Keep the noise alive, keep being Will Smith. Keanu let the quiet hold. Sometimes the noise keeps us from hearing what's breaking. He said. Will looked at him. No persona this time, just presence. So you disappeared after your sister passed? Keanu nodded. I couldn't stay in a world that could take her away. But you came back, Will said. You still made movies. Still played heroes. Because I realized silence isn't escape, Keanu said. It's preparation. Preparation. For what? Keanu didn't flinch. The truth. A murmur moved through the room. Will leaned in, the weight in his voice shifting. You want truth? He said, All right. Something in the room tensed, not in fear, but in anticipation. You talk like silence is sacred, Will said. But I didn't get that option. I couldn't disappear. I messed up, I broke down, and I had to stand there, publicly, take the heat, apologize, rebuild, and you? You vanish and come back like a saint in denim with sad eyes. Keanu's face didn't move, and that makes you angry? Will stared, then let out a low, bitter laugh. Yeah, I guess it does. Keanu's tone stayed calm. Maybe it's because you believe love has to be earned. Through public pain, Will's jaw tightened. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. You think love is found in applause, Keanu said. But applause always fades. Helena, silent until now, finally spoke. Don't we all need validation in some way? Keanu turned toward her. Validation is like sugar, it gives you a rush. But presence, that feeds you. Now the silence in the studio was full of listening, not waiting. Will looked tired, not physically, emotionally. You know what? He said quietly, sometimes I wonder. If I just stayed quiet more, maybe people wouldn't hate me so much. They don't hate you, Keanu said. They just don't know how to hold your pain. Will glanced away, then back. And you? He asked. What do you do with yours? Keanu paused. Not dodging, just feeling. I don't fight it, he said. I sit with it. I walk with it, and some days it walks. No one breathed. Even the cameras seemed to still. Then Keanu leaned slightly forward. Can I ask you something else? Will barely nodded. Double quotes, what would happen if for one night you stopped being Will Smith? Will didn't answer. His jaw was tight, his eyes glassy. But he held the tears. Keanu didn't push. Just waited, present and unmoved. And somehow that quiet was louder than anything Will had ever heard. He tried to speak, then paused. Before he could, Keanu gently raised a hand. There's one more thing I need to know, he said. Will looked up, bracing. Keanu's voice softened, nearly a whisper, but it echoed through the room. Who are you, when no one's clapping? The silence wasn't empty, it was full of something breaking open. Keanu leaned in, eyes steady. Why did you really want this interview, Will? Will gave a crooked smile, tried to play it cool. Come on, man. It's good TV, two legends. One couch. Keanu didn't move. No, there's something else. Will shifted, uneasy. The audience could feel it too. Fine, he said. Maybe I wanted contrast. You're quiet. I'm loud. Fire and water. Keanu tilted his head. Or maybe you needed to confront something in me. Or in you. Will looked away. Then back. You know what I hate? He muttered. That people worship your calm? You barely say a word and they treat you like some wise sage? Keanu didn't blink. And that bothers you? Hell yeah, Will snapped. I bled for my applause. I worked, suffered loudly, and you just exist and they love you for it, Keanu answered gently. Maybe they're not loving me. Maybe they're loving the space I leave for them to see themselves. Will froze. Something cracked in his expression. You ever feel like you're running just to stay visible? All the time, Keanu said. Until I stopped, Will scoffed. Easy for you. You had the luxury to go silent. I had to stay. Face it all. And did that bring peace? Will didn't answer. I've lost people too, Keanu said. River, my sister. I didn't disappear because I was enlightened. I disappeared because I was broken. Will looked at him, really looked, and the silence helped. No, Keanu said. At first it swallowed me, but eventually it became a place I could hear my voice again. Will sat back, almost whispering, I don't know what mine sounds like anymore. That's why we're here, Keanu said. Will blinked, the emotion rising again. I came to crack you open, he said. But I'm the one falling apart. Maybe that's the point, Keanu said softly. Will's voice caught. You don't get it. I need the noise, the love, the laugh track. We all need love, Keanu replied. But if it only shows up when you're performing, is it love or just applause? That question hit like a brick. Will stared at the floor. You think I'm still acting? I think you're exhausted. Silence again. But this time it was full of understanding. Will looked up. You want to know the scariest thing? What? I don't know who I am when the cameras. Shut off. Keanu's voice stayed even. Then maybe it's time to find out? Will didn't reply. But something inside him gave way quietly, completely. The audience wasn't waiting for a punchline anymore. They were witnessing a truth. Will looked up at Keanu, raw and shaken. You know what? He said, maybe people only love you because you don't speak. Keanu didn't blink. And if that's true, then maybe if you spoke more, they wouldn't love you anymore. Maybe, Keanu said. But do you believe love has to be loud to be real? Will stood halfway, then sat back down, frustrated. I earned every cheer I got, every laugh, every headline. I fought for it. Keanu nodded. And what if I earned mine? By stopping the fight? The studio leaned in closer than ever. Will's jaw locked. You hide. You speak like a puzzle, Will said, voice taut. Hiding behind metaphors, Keanu looked at him and nodded. Or maybe I just got tired of performing pain for people who don't know how to sit with silence. Will exhaled sharply. You think I enjoy this? Putting on the show? Keanu's voice was steady. I think you forgot who you were before you had to. Will's gaze flickered to the audience, then back. I don't even know anymore. Keanu leaned forward. Maybe that's the very question you've been trying not to ask. Will swallowed, his voice low. You don't get it. If I stop performing, I disappear. Keanu didn't blink. Or maybe you finally come home. Will's head snapped. Up. You ever feel like you're playing a role in someone else's film? Keanu's eyes didn't move. Every day until I walked off the set, the room tightened with silence. Will's voice cracked. You know what scares me? That if I dropped the act, no one would stay. Keanu tilted his head. Then take it off. Right here. Let's find out, Will laughed bitterly. You talk like it's simple. It's not simple, Keanu said. It's real, Will stood. He faced the crowd, then turned back. I've built this version of me. The one people cheer for. But sometimes I wonder if even I like him. Keanu stepped forward, calm. Then maybe it's time to meet the one who doesn't need applause. Will's eyes glistened. You think he's worth meeting? Keanu nodded. I think he's been waiting. Will sat down again, hands trembling. I didn't bring you here to admire you. I brought you here because I wanted to beat you. The audience went still. I've watched the world praise you for being still. I scream, sweat, break myself to be seen, and you just exist, and they love you for it. Keanu didn't flinch. Will's voice cracked again. I hated that. Because deep down, I feared if I ever stopped trying, I'd vanish. Keanu's reply was soft. Trying to do what? To be enough. The words hung in the air like smoke. I perform because silence terrifies me, Will said. In silence, I hear everything I'm afraid to face. Keanu leaned in. What happens if you stop running from it? Will gave a half laugh, half sob. Maybe I fall apart. Then maybe it's time to fall? Keanu said gently. Will stared at him, stunned. You want me to break? I want you to stop pretending you're not already broken. Will covered his mouth, shoulders shaking. I missed birthdays. Recitals, I said I was doing it for them, but I was hiding. In the work, in the noise. Keanu nodded slowly. You weren't building a life. You were building armor. Will's voice dropped. You ever wonder what we pass down, besides money? Keanu answered without hesitation. We pass down what we don't heal. Will closed his eyes. I don't even know where to start forgiving myself. You already started, Keanu said. You're telling the truth. Will looked at him, eyes red. You really think I can come back from this? Keanu didn't hesitate. You don't need to come back. You just need to show up. A long silence followed, but this time it didn't feel empty. Will wiped a tear, then smiled faintly. You speak like someone who buried the worst parts of himself. Keanu nodded. I have. And I still visit the grave. Will exhaled. You said earlier. The world doesn't need my act. Just me. The world needs the man, Keanu said, not the mask. Will shook his head. I wish someone told me that sooner. Maybe, Keanu said. You weren't ready to hear it. They sat quietly, stripped of roles, stripped of image. Will's voice came again, quieter now. Why are you always so calm? Keanu's eyes dimmed. Because I lost everything, and forgot how to breathe when my sister died. The world stopped making sound, but that silence, it wasn't peace, it was emptiness. Will leaned forward. No one saw it, did they? They saw what they wanted, but what they didn't see. Is that kindness was the only thing left in me that didn't hurt? Will nodded slowly. That's why people trust you. You don't fake your pain. Keanu looked at him gently. And, you do, Will lowered his eyes. I've faked strength, joy, forgiveness. I've faked peace. I gave the world what they wanted, so they wouldn't see what I didn't have. Keanu's voice was soft. You are fixing the image, not the wound. Will sat back. I thought if I gave enough, worked hard enough, they'd love me without the performance. But they never saw me because I never showed them. Maybe now, Keanu said. You are. Will's voice trembled. Sometimes I look at my kids, and I wonder what I'm passing on? The same fears, Keanu said, until you heal them. Will wiped his eyes again. I built a life people admire, but I don't admire the man who lives in it. Then maybe it's time to meet the one who doesn't need to be admired, Will whispered. I don't know who that is. He's still here, Keanu said. Just quiet. Helena, the host, finally spoke, voice trembling. Will, what would you say to him, the man behind the mask? Will hesitated, then whispered, I'm sorry, I left you behind. Keanu smiled, quiet and knowing. That's where it begins. They sat in silence again, but now it felt like healing. Will looked up. How do you forgive yourself? Keanu answered. By not leaving. By staying with the parts that still ache. Forgiveness isn't a finish line, it's staying present, even when it hurts. Will nodded slowly. I've spent my whole life running from stillness. Keanu placed a hand gently on Will's shoulder. Then stop running, Will's eyes filled. I think I just met myself. Keanu smiled. And you're still here. The silence that followed wasn't awkward, it was sacred. Will Smith sat still, not performing. Just breathing. Keanu Reeves sat beside him. Not saving, just present. Helena whispered. Will, do you want to say anything? Will stood. No charm. No act. Just truth. I invited Keanu here to prove something, to expose him. But tonight, he exposed me. He looked at Keanu, humbled. I spent my life chasing applause, and he showed me. I don't need to. He turned to the audience. I'm not the man you think I am. But tonight, I might finally become him.